3 days after my brother's wedding, I logged into my bank account and nearly passed out. $400 was gone, vanished in three strange withdrawals I didn't authorize. At first, I thought I was hacked, but when I looked closer, the truth hit harder than any scammer ever could. The real thief wasn't a stranger. It was someone I once trusted more than anyone in the world. If you've ever trusted family and been burned, this story is for you. Hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories of betrayal and karma. My name is Rachel Anderson. I'm 36 years old, living in a cozy town in North Carolina. I run a small but steady business as a mobile notary. It's not glamorous work. Mostly signing documents, verifying identities, and making sure everything's legally sound for people across the county. But it's honest, dependable, and it pays the bills. I've always been the responsible sibling in my family. Growing up, my parents relied on me to set an example for my younger brother, Landon. While I focused on schoolwork and building a steady life, Landon took a different path. He was the free spirit, the risk taker, who never quite settled down. He bounced between jobs, borrowed money constantly, and somehow managed to get into trouble more than once. But no matter what, I always had his back. After all, that's what older sisters do, right? Landon is 28, and despite his flaws, I've always loved him. We grew up in a close-knit family. Our parents still live in the same house where we were raised. Mom is a nurse, Dad works construction. They've worked hard their whole lives to give us a stable home, but they're getting older now, and the weight of responsibilities often fell on me. Last fall, Landon surprised us all by announcing he was getting married to Emily, a kindergarten teacher with a gentle heart and warm smile. I was happy for him. Honestly, I hoped our marriage might be the turning point he needed to settle down and start taking life more seriously. But then Landon asked me for help. He said the wedding expenses had piled up faster than he expected. He promised he'd pay me back as soon as the honeymoon ends. I was hesitant, but I loved my brother and wanted to support him. So I transferred nearly $5,000 from my account to help cover their costs. I didn't ask for a contract or proof, I just trusted him. The wedding itself was beautiful. They chose a picturesque barn venue nestled in the rolling hills outside town. The sun was shining, the decorations were simple but elegant, and the air was filled with laughter and tears of joy. I remember watching Landon hold Emily's hand as they exchanged vows, thinking maybe this was the fresh start he needed. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy, but happiness was fleeting. Just 3 days later, my world began to crumble. It was a Monday morning when I logged into my bank account and noticed something was terribly wrong. Monday morning started like any other. I grabbed my usual cup of coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop to check emails and, of course, my bank account. It was something I did almost every day. But that morning, as the screen loaded, a strange knot tightened in my stomach before I even saw the numbers. I stared unbelieving at the account balance. It was lower than it should have been. My fingers trembled as I clicked into the transaction history. $8,400 missing. Not some small fee, not a few $100s. $8,400 withdrawn over the weekend in 3 separate transactions. My heart sank. My first thought was that it must be a mistake. Maybe the bank was glitching. I refreshed the page twice, then logged out and back in. The withdrawals were real. And the worst part, each transaction showed my name clearly, and the location of the ATM withdrawals was less than 20 minutes from the barn where the wedding took place just days before. I immediately checked my wallet. My debit card was there untouched. No calls or emails from the bank about suspicious activity had come through. I checked my phone and email again. Nothing. I tried to think. Could someone have stolen my card information and made the withdrawals? But if that were true, why hadn't my bank blocked the transactions or notified me sooner? Then the cold reality hit. These withdrawals weren't made by a stranger. They were made by someone close enough to have my PIN. The one person I'd ever trusted with that number, Landon. I sank back in my chair, unable to breathe for a moment. How could this be happening? After everything, the wedding, the promises, the help I gave them. I called my bank's fraud department voice, shaky, but trying to stay calm. They confirmed the transactions were physical withdrawals requiring a card and PIN. No online transfers, no hacking. So someone had your card and knew your PIN, the agent asked. Yes, I whispered. And you haven't lost your card? No, it's right here. Then we recommend filing a police report immediately. I thanked the agent and hung up, my mind racing. I couldn't just storm into their lives accusing them without proof. But I had to know the truth. That afternoon, I drove to my parents' house where Landon and Emily were staying while unpacking from their honeymoon. I told myself to keep my cool. I'd act like nothing was wrong, smile, ask casual questions. But beneath that calm exterior, my eyes were sharp, watching every move. Emily greeted me warmly, the picture of happiness. Landon looked tired, but cheerful, still in honeymoon glow. They showed me the new things. They had bought an expensive MacBook Pro, a designer purse, and several luxury items that didn't fit the story of a young couple just starting out. I noticed a receipt on the kitchen counter, a bill from a high-end spa, dated the day after the wedding. Emily laughed softly. Landon surprised me with a little honeymoon shopping spree. He's full of surprises. I forced a smile, but my stomach twisted into knots. That night back home, I pored over my credit card statements. Charges lined up: electronics stores, expensive restaurants, spa treatments, all under my name, but with timestamps that matched Landon's whereabouts. My trust shattered. The next day, I sat Landon down, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to talk, I said softly. He looked at me puzzled. I showed him the bank statements, the withdrawals, the receipts. His face paled. For a moment, I thought he'd apologize. But then he laughed, a cold, dismissive laugh. You're seriously mad, Rach. I thought you said the wedding gift was a blank check. I blinked, stunned. You stole from me, I whispered. It's not stealing if it's family. He shrugged. Besides, you have way more money than we do. We needed it. He walked away, leaving me speechless and broken. That night, tears blurred my vision, not because of the money lost, but because the person I loved the most had betrayed me in the worst way possible. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding in my chest. The betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about everything I thought I knew, about family, about trust, about love. I replayed Landon's words over and over. It's not stealing if it's family. How could he say that with such ease? With such coldness, I felt hollow. The next morning, I couldn't face my parents. How could I tell them, their son, Their Landon had stolen from me. What would they think of me for even suspecting it? Would they blame me for trusting him? But I needed answers, and I needed justice. I started digging deeper into my accounts, going over every transaction with a fine-tooth comb. What I found was worse than I expected. There were dozens of charges I didn't recognize: gas stations, fast food joints, even a pricey massage chair store, all under my name. It was clear this wasn't a one-time mistake or a desperate act. It was deliberate, ongoing theft. I felt sick to my stomach. I tried to reach out to Landon again, hoping for some sign of remorse, but he ignored my calls. Emily was nowhere to be found. I remembered the wedding venue had an ATM nearby. If Landon had physically withdrawn the money, there might be security footage. I swallowed my pride and called the venue, explaining I needed footage from the weekend. A few days later, I got the video. There he was, my brother, standing in front of the ATM at 3:12 a.m., looking around nervously before slipping my debit card in and entering a PIN. The footage was clear as day. He wasn't even careful. The betrayal cut deeper. I showed the video to a trusted lawyer friend. He said I had a strong case for fraud and theft, but I wasn't ready to burn bridges or ruin family relationships just yet. Instead, I decided to take a different path. I sat in my apartment, staring at the evidence spread out before me: the transaction logs, the ATM footage, the receipts, the emails. It was all there, undeniable proof that Landon had taken thousands from me without a second thought. But what hurt the most wasn't the money. It was the betrayal. I had always been his safety net, the one who paid off his debts, covered his mistakes, and believed in him, even when no one else did. And now, he had used my trust like it was nothing. I felt anger rising like a storm inside me, but I forced myself to breathe. Rage wouldn't fix anything. I needed a plan. I called my closest friend Maria, who had a sharp mind for details and a background in finance. I explained everything, trying to keep my voice steady. "Rachel," she said quietly, "this is serious. You can't let him get away with this. But you also have to protect yourself going forward." Together, we went through every bank statement, credit card charge, and even social media posts to track any purchases or trips paid for with my money. There were dozens, hundreds maybe, of transactions that didn't add up. Gas stations on nights I was at home online, orders for electronics I never received, even a luxury spa treatment billed to my card. Each discovery was a fresh stab to the heart. Then came the hardest part: confronting my parents. I didn't want to shatter their world, but they deserved to know the truth. One evening, I sat them down in the living room. The house smelled like my mom's homemade apple pie, a reminder of simpler times. With tears threatening to spill, I told them everything: the missing $8, $400, the evidence, Landon's denial. Their faces fell. Mom's hands trembled. Dad's jaw clenched. "We never thought he'd do something like this," Mom whispered. Dad looked at me, eyes heavy. "We need to help him, but he has to face consequences." It was a turning point. The family I thought I knew was breaking apart. In the following weeks, Landon avoided calls and texts. Emily disappeared altogether, leaving no messages. I felt alone, betrayed, and exhausted. But amidst the pain, I knew I had to find strength not just for me, but for the family still standing. After weeks of heartache and sleepless nights, realized revenge wouldn't heal me if it was fueled by anger or hatred. I needed something smarter, something that would teach Landon a lesson he wouldn't forget without destroying myself or our family completely. The first step was to protect myself. I contacted my bank's fraud department again, this time armed with the police report and all the evidence I had collected. I marked every unauthorized transaction as fraud and requested thorough investigations. They promised to freeze my accounts to prevent further unauthorized access. Then I took the next big step. I hired a forensic accountant, a friend who specialized in uncovering financial fraud. Together, we pored over every statement, every charge, every suspicious purchase tied to my name. What she found was staggering. Dozens of charges on fast food gas stations, electronics, even luxury stores, all tied to Landon's timeline and locations. This wasn't just about the $8 or $400. It was years of misuse masked by family loyalty. With this mountain of evidence, I arranged a meeting with a lawyer experienced in family and financial law. I wanted to understand my options and just to recover the money, but to hold Landon accountable legally and send a message that such betrayal isn't acceptable. While I considered pressing charges, I also drafted a carefully worded email to Landon. The email was calm and factual. Landon, I have gathered undeniable proof of your unauthorized use of my debit card and credit accounts. This behavior constitutes theft and fraud. I have filed a police report and am prepared to take legal action if the money is not repaid in full by next Monday. Please consider this your final warning. No contact unless through legal counsel. Rachel. I pressed send and waited. Hours later, my phone chimed with a Zelle notification. $8, $400. But it wasn't from Landon. It was from Emily. The message attached read, I'm so sorry, Rachel. I didn't know until today. Please forgive me. I didn't reply. It was a silent victory. The next weeks were filled with quiet tension. Landon tried to reach out, but I stayed firm, no contact except through lawyers. Then news came through the family grapevine. Emily had left Landon. She'd discovered that Landon had been lying to her about having a job, and worse, had been using her credit cards without her knowledge. My parents were heartbroken, but relieved. Landon had moved back in with them, facing the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, I took the refunded money and invested it in something meaningful. I launched an online workshop for women small business owners teaching financial literacy fraud prevention and how to protect themselves from friendly fraud by people they trust. The workshop quickly gained traction. Women shared stories eerily similar to mine, grateful for the tools to safeguard their hard-earned money. That money Landon stole. It became a catalyst for empowerment, not just for me, but for hundreds of women who found their voices and strength. Months later, when someone told me, family always comes first, I smiled quietly and replied, only if they act like family. Because true family is built on trust, respect, and integrity. Months passed since the dust settled, but the scars from Landon's betrayal still lingered. Yet through the pain, I found strength I never knew I had. I realized that sometimes family isn't just about blood. It's about the respect and honesty we owe each other. Emily's departure was painful for everyone involved, but it also revealed the true nature of the man. Landon was, and the kind of person I refused to be. The $400 he stole. It didn't vanish into the void. Instead, it became the seed for something greater. My online workshop grew beyond my expectations, reaching women who, like me, had been hurt by those they trusted. Helping others protect their finances gave me purpose. It was my way of turning betrayal into empowerment. I never sought revenge to ruin Landon, but to teach him that actions have consequences even within family. Sometimes, karma works quietly, but relentlessly. And as for me, I found peace in setting boundaries, in standing up for myself, and in knowing that true family means standing together, not tearing each other apart. The next time someone says, family comes first, I'll smile knowingly and say, only when they deserve to. Because love without trust isn't family, it's just a word.